Welcome to the Doc G Show, a radio show cluster. Without further ado, critics have said he has the face for radio and a voice for silent films. Your host, Ben Doc G Gordon.
And we are on the air. Welcome to the Doc G Show. I am your host, Doc G. With me, as always, the one, the only, Mikey Maximus Vernicus.
Say what?
Charette.
Doc G, what's up, sir?
Woo! My gosh, I'm recovering from Thanksgiving, Mike.
Yeah, all that tryptophan.
Oh, I had zero. I didn't have any turkey.
Oh, okay.
You know, I had prime rib, Mike.
Oh, wow. There you go.
Prime rib. How was your Thanksgiving?
Nice. It was great, man. It was a party. Went over to the annual boss's house. A bunch of people there. A lot of comedians.
Nice.
So, yeah, it was good.
Jokes were had.
Jokes were had.
Shenanigans?
Yeah. Some shenanigans.
Oh,
yes.
Good.
Lots of pie.
You got pie. What kind of pie did you have?
Apple pie.
Oh,
there was
nice.
a little bit of blueberry pie.
Wow.
Which,
wow.
Yeah.
I had a food item that we've talked about on the show, but I've never tried. I had Yorkshire pudding, Mike.
What is that again?
Yorkshire pudding. It's basically puff pastry that's made in like a muffin tin, and they just sort of let it overflow, right?
Okay.
So you just cook this puff pastry, and it just sort of bubbles out. And then most of the time, they put gravy on top of it. And I got to be honest, Mike, I've been making fun of British food all my life. And this Yorkshire pudding comes and punches me in the face.
Nice.
Delicious. Delicious,
right.
Mike. I could have it with every meal.
That's right.
I could have it with every meal. It's basically just delicious bread with gravy on top.
Cool. Love it.
Oh, it's good. It is good stuff. And the prime rib was tasty. So all in all, not bad.
Good to hear.
Not bad.
Good to hear.
Mike, now that we've celebrated both of our Thanksgivings, I've got a headline. I was cruising headlines for the show, and I came across this one. I said, this is a good way to open the show. So this is from Business Insider. Here's the headline. Places in the U.S. everyone should see, according to a frequent traveler.
Love it.
First of all, pause for a second, Mike, and appreciate how much effort they put into finding an expert. They got a frequent traveler. That was a pretty low hurdle to go. Who should we get for this? I don't know, somebody that leaves their house occasionally. Woohoo! Sounds good. Let's go with that guy. Like, I feel like we need a little bit more, a little bit better of an expert.
Yeah.
I thought this would be a good headline for us, though, especially myself, because I love to fantasize about going to all kinds of crazy locations and never actually going. So we could fantasize about going to these places and not actually go.
For sure.
So they give us six locations to visit, Mike. Do you want to guess any locations? Any location in the U.S. What do you think?
Arizona, Sedona.
Nope, no Sedona.
No? All right.
Grand Canyon.
Grand Canyon, okay.
Now, before I tell you the list, I need to spoil the list a little bit by informing you that there are no locations with coastal redwoods on them on this list.
Oh, come on.
Well, then we should just skip this list. What are they doing?
I agree, Mike.
That's a fact.
I mean, listeners, I'm not a frequent traveler, okay? I don't meet that bar, but I've seen enough things to say if your list in America doesn't include redwoods, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Okay? You're wrong. Now, there's a spot on the list, Mike, that indirectly includes redwoods. The Yosemite has redwoods. They're not coastal redwoods. They're sequoias.
Mm-hmm.
Still very impressive, but come on.
Yeah.
Come on. So, first on the list, Mike, Grand Canyon. I mean, I'm Mike, I'm not going to say this shouldn't be on the list. Because there's nowhere else in the world that's like it. It's a massive canyon, you know?
Yeah.
But, I mean, is the canyon living?
Nope.
No. Is it a living organism that's 400 feet tall and 3,000 years old? No.
No.
Like, it's a big hole. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's an impressive big hole. But it's a big hole. Like, it's like, come on. I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things that you look out on and you're like, well, that's a pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of it.
Yeah.
That's, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I need to visit it in a different way, Mike. I don't know.
See a different angle? I don't think so. I think it looks the same pretty much everywhere you go.
Yeah. Next on the list, Mike, the Great Lakes. I can't really quibble with this one either. It is a natural wonder. They're huge, you know, and all. They're some of the biggest lakes in the world.
So true.
I don't know, though, you know? Like, it's hard when you just choose 6 things in America. Like, that's tough, you know?
Yeah.
That's tough. Next on the list, New Orleans.
New Orleans is a good one.
It's a good one, but, like, I mean, every city in the country, and that's one of the only few that you're choosing. You know? That's tough. That's tough. I'm not gonna say it shouldn't be on the list. I'm just saying that's tough, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Next on the list, New York City.
Woohoo!
Definitely agree
Total
with this
agreement.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's New York. It's New York.
Yeah.
Concrete jungles where dreams are made of.
Yes!
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing you can't do. You're in New York. You know, it's and there's such a dichotomy when you're in New York. You feel so small and insignificant because there's 10 million people around you doing all kinds of things, not caring what you're doing. But at the same time, the energy is overwhelming. You've got this energy that feels just so dynamic and so explosive. But then you also feel like, what am I doing? And you just got to ride that wave of energy when you're there. It's wild, Mike.
What am I doing? Get out of my way!
Exactly.
You're too slow.
They will let you know.
Yeah.
Next on the list, Northern New Mexico.
Word.
I'm vetoing
It's really
this
specific.
one. I'm taking this one off the list, Mike. This is, first of all, no one from New Mexico consistently listens to the show, so that's horrible. Second of all, Mike, go to northern Arizona, southern Colorado, southern Utah. You got the same stuff. Like, there's nothing unique there. It's all high desert. Like, it's not like, come on. I'm putting in the Redwood National Forest. That's happening. Take out northern New Mexico. Redwood National Forest is on my list, Mike. Lastly, you mentioned it, Yosemite National Park, number 6. Number 6, Yosemite. Now, there's all kinds. Yosemite does have some crazy stuff.
That's a fact.
And Yosemite has sequoias, like I mentioned. You know, Yosemite also has what we, what I think most people think of about Yosemite, which is geysers, Mike.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like those.
Nope.
You don't like geysers?
No, they freak me out. They freak me out as much as volcanoes, almost. You know?
Yeah.
You just don't know about them. They're just shooting things out. Like, Seems very precarious. I don't like. What if all of a sudden one time it just decides to erupt just
Go lava.
Yeah,
Yeah.
instead of water, or it is water, but it just turns up the heat until
all acid
it's
from
just
around
like
it.
I don't like things
Yeah.
shooting from the ground unexpectedly.
That's fair.
That weirds me out, man. Now there are sequoias there, right? And that's where people drove through trees, which is pretty dope. So you got that. So Yosemite National Park, Mike, the last one on the list. Now, Mike, now that we have all the great places to visit in the U.S.
So true.
And we are not going to visit any of them.
Nope.
Okay, we already have visited a couple of them, but we're not going to visit them in the future. Are you ready to fire up this show?
Let's fire up this show, Doc G.
All 3 engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and lift off.
Mike, we have a fantastic show. We have a veteran musician, Mr. Andrew Browning, on the show. Can't wait to talk about his new album, Love is a Beautiful Thing. It's just got some things going on. We also talk about he's an Ironman runner, Mike. Gets out there and Ironmans. Not for me.
Ironman
You know
runner.
what Ironman is?
I mean, I know it's like a a competition, workout competition, but I didn't know there was there was just running. I thought it was like 3 things.
Oh, it's well, I mean, I said runner, but there are 3 things. Yes. You do run, you do bike, you do swim. And you do it actually in opposite order. You swim first, you bike ride, and then you run. You swim 2.4 miles.
Oh my gosh.
You bike
way.
112 miles. And then you run a marathon.
Jeez.
So after you do 114 miles of other activity, you run a marathon.
Wow. Yeah, no way.
Pass. Mike, I would sink like a stone after 100 yards of that swim.
Yeah, dude.
I'd make it
That's-
like 100
that's
yards.
tough.
And like in the real deal Ironman in Hawaii, they do that in open water. They do that in the ocean, man.
No, thank
I
you.
would die so fast. So fast, Mike. It wouldn't even
No
be
way, man.
they would look around and they'd be like, where'd that one competitor go? So the long hair and the beard, he died? He died.
Oh, there's a big red
Yeah.
mark. There's a big red stain in the water. That's a great white shark.
No,
on him.
I would be lucky if that happened, Mike. I'd just be floating. I'd be a bloated corpse just floating down. Just horrible. Anyways, we're going to talk to Andrew Browning. It's going to be a good time. But first, Mike, we need to start where we start.
Birthday suit.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
You got this one.
Yeah, all right.
This is pretty, like 99.9%.
Cool. Michael Jordan.
How about this? You've got 99 problems, but this guy isn't one.
Jay-Z.
There it is. It is Jay-Z. Jay-Z
Let's go.
is correct. Here you go, Mike. Here's the rundown on Jay-Z. Born on December 4th, 1969 in Brooklyn, New York. Birthday suit wearer, started rapping in his early teens in the 80s, and by the 90s, he toured with Big Daddy Kane. He ended up creating a rap label with Dame Dash called Rockefeller Records and released Reasonable Doubt in 1996. He has released 13 albums, The Blueprint and the Black Album being considered some of the best rap albums of all time. He's dropped massive singles like Hard Knock Life, Big Pimpin', Izzo, Dirt Off Your Shoulders, 99 Problems, Numb, Encore, Run This Town, Empire State of Mind. Our birthday suit wearer married Beyonce in 2008. He became the hip-hop's first billionaire, He became hip-hop's first billionaire in 2019. He has a net worth of over $2.5 billion. He's won 24 Grammys. He is in the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and he is the first solo living rapper in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Mr. Hova, Mr. Jay-Z, Sean Carter. There we go, Mike.
Wow.
There we go. Turning 55.
55.
The double nickel for Jay-Z. There you go. There you go. I remember back in the day was that on the Black Album? No, I think that was on the album afterwards, where he was saying 40 was the new 30. Man, now he's got to say 50's the new 30. Soon he's going to be saying 60's the new 30. Keep going. Jay-Z, lots and lots of accolades. Congrats, Jay. Congrats.
When do you stop? 90 is not 90.
Yeah,
Really?
you know, 90. You're old. Sorry, we're not moving it back down. Nope. Mike, you ready to rip some headlines?
Let's rip some headlines, Doc G.
It's now time for Rip from the Headlines.
Mike, I saw this one in some headlines. Recent YouGov survey. You ever check out YouGov surveys?
No.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you know, every now and then a person will put out a survey just to see how the people are feeling, you know, and then people will respond to this.
I always feel like it's just old people responding to those.
Yeah, I mean, depends on where you put them, especially if it's on the internet, you know.
True.
This YouGov survey said 50% of men think they can land a plane in an emergency.
Wait, what?
Mike, in another study I just conducted, I found that 50% of men are delusional for thinking they could land a plane in an emergency. The other 50% are most likely delusional as well, but for other reasons. So,
yeah.
Mike, what kind of self-confident tats are we dealing with that are like, yeah, I could do it? I think so. Like, I'd get up in there in the cockpit, and the first thing I'd do is press the exact wrong button.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I'm going to press this.
You would just get ejected.
Well, I was about to say, I'd just press
They don't even have this in planes.
I'd press the button, and they'd be like, what did you do? And I'd be like, I don't know. I pressed that button. They're like, that's the wing eject button. And I'd be like, we just dropped the wings? They're like, yeah. I'm like, oh, no, the wings. That's essential. Oh, that's bad.
Where's the parachute?
Like, it's just, no. Yeah, you don't think you could land a plane, do you, Mike?
It's just a bunch of guys who have watched these movies where guys have to emergency land planes.
Yeah.
So you see like 3 of those, and you're like, I could do it.
Yeah. I could not. I can confidently say, Mike, no.
All right, I
would
would
not.
pull the steering back. I would pull that back. I think that's what you're supposed. That's one of the moves. You pull it back.
I've got it. I can land it. I know the direction. It's reverse of what I'm
You
thinking.
just pull that back and then you land. That's it.
Well, we've done it. We've done it. Now me and Mike are on board. Add that up. Mike, I've got a little story here from TMZ. Here's the headline. Quote, Martha Stewart admits she doesn't know how to access DMs on social media. End quote. Martha, you're 83 years old. That's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah.
I am completely fine with you not knowing how to do that. Dolly Parton is 5 years younger than you and only contacts people on a fax machine. Sweet. The fact that you have a phone with apps is revolutionary. Let's be honest. That's amazing at 83. Like,
Yeah.
Martha Stewart admitting not knowing how to access DMs is like an 18-year-old admitting they don't know how to use a rotary dial phone. Yeah, that sounds about right. We don't expect you to. You weren't around for that kind of thing.
I mean, she is friends with Snoop Dogg. You would think that
I don't
there's
think he knows how to either. honestly.
Okay, fair.
Let's be honest. Come on. I don't know. Snoop's probably all up in the DMs. Let's be real. He's just. But I mean, lastly, Martha, you don't
You don't need the DMs. Just
you don't need to be seeing
stick
anybody.
to the awesome recipes and home decor and all that.
There's only shady shenanigans going on in those DMs that you don't need.
Good.
No good can come out of them.
Nah.
It's not like you're going to be in there and be like, oh my God, somebody gave me the opportunity of a lifetime in a DM. You're Martha Stewart. You don't need our opportunities of a lifetime.
No.
Mike, got a little article here from the Wall Street Journal. Quote, eBay billionaire Jeff Skoll is buying a compound outside Washington, D.C. Two things, Mike. First, you know you're rich when you can confidently call your house a compound.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody renting a 2-bedroom apartment is going, well, my compound. Granted, it's around a lot of other compounds. It's a 4-story compound. I'm on the first floor of the compound. No. Second, if you want to call your place a compound, you're definitely starting a cult.
So true.
You don't have a compound without a cult.
No.
Like, come
Didn't
on.
Osama bin Laden live on a compound?
Come on.
That was a compound.
All right. Everybody did, man. Waco, compound. Come on, Jeff. What about an estate? An estate sounds
fancy.
nice.
Yeah.
Apparently he bought this because he bought the Washington Nationals. The hockey team.
Right.
So since he bought the team, he was like, I need to be close. He only paid $17 million for it. So considering he's worth $5.2 billion, not too much of an impact, I don't think.
No.
Not too much. Speaking of, Mike, I've got an article from Marie Claire.
Sweet.
Marie Claire, here's the headline, quote, Selena Gomez tackles Black Friday shopping in a Prada belt bag and matching Birkenstocks.
Word.
I guess those are good things to wear when you're shopping, Mike. My question would mainly be, why the hell is Selena Gomez Black Friday shopping?
Yeah, no. What is she doing?
You're worth over $1 billion. Like, literally, Mike, she was seen shopping at Urban Outfitters on Black Friday. She could buy every single item in Urban Outfitters, and it wouldn't be worth the interest on her net worth for one day.
Who's going to Urban Outfitters anyways? I'm sorry.
Why do you want to even shop, Selena? What's the fun of shopping when you can buy everything?
Yeah.
It's like fishing in a pond, but instead of a fishing pole, you've got a giant net that covers the entire pond. Well, I caught everything. That was nice. Like, who the wants to do that? Like, what is? I don't get this, Mike. This is confusing to me. I was just like, why? Why would you want to go out there and just subject yourself to other people?
Sounds like she was in a mall too. Not good.
I think it was an outdoor mall. I think.
Oh, okay.
I think it was, but still.
Slightly better.
No, yeah, nobody wants Selena. Come on, I'll shop for you. Mike, I've got a beautiful story here for both of us. This is a lovely one from All Recipes, made specifically for us. Here we go. Quote, I tried the 10 most popular Taco Bell menu items. This is the one I'll always order. First off, shout out to Tony Rehagen, I think is his last name. Rehagen. Rehagen. He's the guy that wrote this article. And Mike, he might be a bigger Taco Bell fan than me and you. This guy seems to go hard. He loves his Taco Bell, and he's loved it for a long time. This might not surprise you either, Mike. I've had everything on this top 10 list.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now, this shouldn't be hard, Mike, but give me 3 things you think are on this list.
Crunchwrap Supreme.
Got it.
Do they have double deckers anymore? No, probably
sort
not.
of, but it's
Okay.
not. It's not the double decker.
Yeah,
It's like it, and it's got the same idea, and that's actually number 1 on the list. His
Okay.
list,
Um,
because he put these in order of his favorites.
Doritos Locos. I really am not.
No.
No,
Not
I
most
felt like
popular.
that one wasn't a good one.
Think simple, Mike. Think simple. As simple as you get at Taco Bell. What's as simple as you get?
I mean, bean burrito.
Cheesy
That would be
bean and
the
rice
most
burrito.
Cheesy bean and rice burrito.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that. Was that really on his list?
No, this isn't his list, Mike.
Oh.
This is the 10 most popular items for Taco Bell, and then he ordered them in his favorite.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, Doctor.
Come
sorry.
on.
I'm blanking out.
Soft taco, crunchy taco, Mike. Come on.
Oh yeah.
Come on.
Okay.
Let's, 10 cheesy bean and rice burrito,
I wasn't-
9 nachos Bel Grande, 8 chalupa supreme, 7 beefy 5-layer burrito, 6 soft taco, 5 chicken quesadilla, 4 Mexican pizza, 3 crunchy taco, 2 crunch wrap supreme, 1 cheesy gordita crunch.
Wow.
I didn't see the cheesy gordita crunch coming first, Mike. I got to be honest. It's like the double decker, because the gordita is like the soft shell, and then you've got the crunch under it. It doesn't do it for me, Mike. I don't need that. I mean, I'll eat it. Don't get me wrong. It's Taco
sure.
Bell, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna put that number 1. And he put the chalupa number 8. Come on, chalupa's awesome. It's basically like funnel cake, savory funnel cake. Taco. It's awesome,
That's
man.
exactly what it is. It's hilarious.
Awesome. I love it. So good. He was like, it's too greasy for me. And I was like, what? Tony, grow up. What's wrong with you, man? You don't want greasy? Jeez.
That's what we're here for.
Exactly. And then his Crunch Wrap Supreme number 2. I was like, Tony, what are you, junior high? Come on. You're putting that. I mean, don't get me wrong. Again, it's delicious. I will eat it, but it's everybody. What are you, just like everybody else? Come on. What's your favorite artist? The Beatles? Yeah, we get it. It's good. Jesus. Anyways, Mike, I've got a story here from Quartz. So this is from Quartz. Quote, Jeff Bezos is betting millions on Nvidia's rival. That's right, listeners. A guy worth $230 billion is betting millions on Nvidia rival, which is equivalent to me betting $50 on a football game.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much.
$230 billion, Mike, and they're talking about him betting millions. Come on. Come on. It's like literally 0.05% of his net worth. He could care less, man. Ridiculous. This isn't worth an article. It's dumb.
He's
Mike-
trying to drive up the stock. Is it AMD? It's probably AMD.
No,
I
it's
I
not
think That's a
AMD.
rival. No?
It's something with a T, Tor something,
Oh.
something. Mike, I've got a weird one from USA Today. Here's the headline. Cruise passengers stage hunger strike after Antarctica trip is rerouted. End quote. Mike, there are so many things wrong with this headline.
Yeah. I saw that article. I saw the headline.
First of all,
Okay.
what the wrong with you that makes you want to go on a cruise to Antarctica? Gross. No.
Yeah.
No. Cruises are
probably
bad
go.
enough.
I'd probably
No. Mm-mm. Cruises are
Antarctica?
bad enough.
Yeah.
You don't want to cruise to the end of the earth? No, thank you.
Yeah.
Pass. Pass. Then you stage a hunger strike? No. Hunger strikes are for crimes against humanity, not for you didn't get the vacation you wanted. What are you, 7? Grow up. Jesus.
Yeah.
Come on. It's ridiculous. They you know why they staged it, Mike? I read through the whole article. They staged it because they didn't get a full refund. That was literally why the people were doing a hunger strike. They wanted a full refund when they only got 50% of a refund.
Okay. So I thought a strike was we're not going to work for you, or we're not, I was
Hunger
like,
strike.
What are they not getting back on the boat until they get their meal? Or
Hunger strike. They're just sitting there not eating.
Oh.
That's a hunger strike.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You just don't eat. That's it. It's pretty dumb, Mike.
Yeah, that's terrible. I mean,
Mike, interesting one from Tasting Table. Quote, here's the most expensive steak you can order at Texas Roadhouse. Is that a thing people are looking for, Mike?
We're at Texas Roadhouse.
That's kind of like saying, here's the most expensive pair of shoes sold in Walmart. Okay. Is it L.A. Gear? Do they light up? Like, who?
Yeah.
In case you're wondering, it's the 23-ounce Porterhouse T-bone, Mike. Yeah. Quantity and quality.
$32.
Has that flipped your world upside down, Mike?
No.
Actually, you almost nailed that price, by the way.
Really?
I want to say I didn't write it down, but I want to say it was $35. So you were very close.
That's so funny.
You were very close. That's it, Mike. We got to wrap up the old rip from the headlines. We are going to be right back here on the Doc G Show. And we are back here on the Doc G Show. Spinnaker Radio, WSKRLP 95.5 FM in Jacksonville, Florida. Mike, what do the listeners need to do to ensure that we continue doing what we do?
Well, Doc G, if the listeners would like to ensure that we continue doing what we do, they should please subscribe to the show.
Yes.
Wherever they consume their podcast.
Yes.
We're on Apple, we're on Spotify, we're on SoundCloud, we're on YouTube. Please support the show. It's a cost-effective way. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a 5-star review.
Correct.
We would love you.
Correct. Mike, we need to thank the regular listeners.
We do.
No new regular listeners, but here we go.
Shoutouts.
Shout out to Peoria, Illinois, Katy, Texas, Toms River, New Jersey, Olive Branch, Mississippi, Asheville, North Carolina, Los Angeles, California, Spartanburg, South Carolina, Athens, Georgia, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Chicago, Illinois, Boynton, Virginia, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Columbus, Ohio, Falkenstein, Germany, Jacksonville, Florida, Columbia, South Carolina, Radford, Virginia, Gainesville, Florida, Frankfurt, Germany, Anoka, Minnesota, Ashburn, Virginia, Piracai, Brazil, San Diego, California, Dublin, Ireland, Boardman, Oregon, Genoa, Italy, Richards, Texas, Barcelona, Spain, Biloxi, Mississippi, and Tulsa, Oklahoma. Falkenstein always gets me. It's always
a tough one.
It's just in there, man.
Shout
out to you guys. We really appreciate it, Falkenstein. But
we do.
You always throw me for a loop. I'm not ready for it, and then I'm like, "Oh, Falkenstein got me!" And then it's usually, Mike, like I've said before, I get past it and I celebrate a little bit in my head, and then I up. Woo! I did. Oh, I'm too dumb to keep reading. Oh, that's bad.
Blam.
Anyways, Mike, 4-star listens. Here we go. Pompano Beach, Florida. Shout out to you guys. Phoenix, Arizona. Shout out to you guys. Houston, Texas. Shout out to you guys. New Orleans. There we go, Mike.
New Orleans.
Cincinnati, Ohio. Now, Mike, it's a cold one out there, especially on the East Coast. What are you thinking? Cincinnati, Ohio, right now.
Ooh, 35.
Right now, Mike, we have... Nope, got to go colder.
Colder?
Yeah, that's right. 27.
27.
27.
Yeah, it's cold.
No, thank you. No, thank you, Mike.
Nope.
We've got shout out to Pooler, Georgia. Shout out to North Charleston, South Carolina. Shout out to Oakville, Ontario in Canada. Let's try that one out, Mike. Oakville, Canada or Ontario. What are you thinking?
13 degrees.
Jeez.
13. Now this one's surprising, Mike. 29.
29.
Warmer than Cincinnati.
Whatever.
What are the chances? What are the chances? Atlanta, Georgia. Shout out to you guys. Las Vegas, Nevada. Shout out to you guys. Seoul, Korea. Oh, watch out, Seoul. I don't know if you saw that, Mike. Korea under martial law right now. It happened. Happened yesterday.
I don't know what that means.
Is the government basically controlling things. It gets a little crazy. They sort of shut things down with martial law. It's wild.
Not good.
Not good. Bucharest, Romania. Shout out to you guys. Luckily, though, they're doing what they should in Korea, ignoring the craziness around them and listening to the Doc G show.
Yes.
Always the best solution.
We appreciate
nice job,
you.
Korea. Hong Kong. Shout out to you guys. And lastly, Denver, Colorado. There we go. Mike, we need to get to our guest here. We need to get to the one and only Mr. Andrew Browning. We will be right back here on the Doc G Show. Welcome back to the show, everybody. We are very excited to be welcoming a fantastic musician who just released his newest album, Love is a Beautiful Thing, Mr. Andrew Browning. Andrew, how are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Can't complain. So you have been in California all of your adult life. This album is filled with the California feel, but you did grow up in Connecticut, and I want to take the listeners all the way back because I heard in an interview you mentioned this. Your first music memory was hearing Bay City Rollers Saturday night on 8-track.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, now listeners may be laughing like Andrew, but what actually stuck with you from that song?
It had a hook.
Yes.
It had a hook. And I think, my brother is, my brother's sort of like an old deadhead, and I would go up to his bedroom, which was full of, tapestries and bongs and all this kind of, and he would sit there and he would say, "Oh man," he go, "you just have to listen to like Space," and I'd be like, "Thank you, out of here, play Truckin' or something, right? It's got a hook, So yeah, that the Bay City Rollers, right? The epitome of sort of cheese, and they had these TV shows on rerun. But the thing that did hit me there was I realized what a hook was, and it stuck with me ever since then. If you ain't got a hook, you ain't got a song.
Yeah. Well, you've only got to listen to that song a couple of times before you're sitting there going, SATURDAY. S-A. It gets stuck in your head, man. Well, this has got to be a tough one for you, but off the top of your head, new album, what's the best hook? Or not the best hook, but what were you most excited about, I would say? As far as like when you came up with that hook, you're like, no, that's good.
I think, I think what I was thinking at the time, and maybe what revealed itself after production, or maybe what I think people will resonate with most, maybe are different things. I mean, I think Conoline's got a great hook.
Mm-hmm.
Preacher's Tomb has a great hook. I think probably the songs that are closest to me are probably Love is a Beautiful Thing and maybe San Fernando,
Mm-hmm.
interestingly enough.
Mm-hmm.
But those are for personal reasons. And I think when I wrote those, I was going, oh, these are the ones. And
Yeah.
then I think listening to the album, I'm like, well, maybe Econoline and Preachers of Doom are the
Yeah.
ones. But those were the ones that I think had the most personal sort of, they were the ones that really spoke to me when I wrote them. And
Mm-hmm.
I think, a lot of artists will tell you that, you'll work on something and you'll think, oh, this thing is the bee's knees, man. This is going to be the deal. And then you'll have another thing where you think, well, this thing doesn't really have very many, it doesn't have any legs. And then, once you're done with it, the thing you didn't think had legs has legs, and think you thought the one you thought really had them doesn't. So,
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of artists, comedians, musicians about that, and I think it's the artists, you become partial to those ones that you work so hard on, regardless of like how the final product is,
yeah.
and so you're like, come on, look at this one, this one's great, but like whatever, sometimes that one that came so easy just has that magic that you don't realize, and so you don't have that personal attachment to it because it came so easy. So it's like,
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think those are the two that resonated with me, but I think probably what's on the album speaks differently. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm,
And really,
mm-hmm,
what's the great thing about any song is that if 10,000 people listen to a single song, they'll all hear 10,000 different songs, right?
mm-hmm.
So that's really, I think that's really where the magic is. And what I like is important to me because that's why I play it and that's why I write it. But
Yeah,
ultimately, if these things do their job, they relieve people from their daily 3-minute intervals. And if one of those songs does that and it's not the one I thought it was going to be, hey, that's great.
exactly. Well, going a little bit back to the memories there. I've also heard you talk about like getting into music
Hmm.
and your elementary school. You had a teacher that she was all about, the classics, the Bob Dylans, the Simon and Garfunkels, the Johnny Cashes. Was that one of those things when you were in that music class in elementary school? Was it one of those things that it took a while to fully appreciate what she was doing?
Yeah, that's a good question. At the time, I don't think I was appreciating as much as just sort of singing along, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until later in life that I look back on that and I go, that was the seed, right? That
Mm-hmm.
was the thing because, all of those old time songs, right? They all had stories, right? And the way I
Mm-hmm.
write is there's always a story.
Mm-hmm.
So that early influence,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think, was the thing that having a hook and having a story
Yeah.
sort of stuck with me throughout my entire life, and that's
Yeah.
sort of my orientation on music to this day.
Yeah.
It's
Was
all about writing great songs, right? That's the goal, and it'll always be the goal.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, now, as far as adding music to those stories, you first started playing the violin, wasn't much for you. Saxophone, weren't too excited about that either. Then you finally landed on guitar. Now, obviously, like I said, the first two were sort of homework for you, but then guitar, that was pretty much, was that pretty much like love at first strum?
Yeah, I think it was, and also, I realized even at a relatively young age, if you're walking around with a guitar, there was girls involved, right? So, if I look back, yeah, I mean, I think violin and saxophone, which looking back now, I wish I had kept up with it, right? But
Mm,
but it was homework, right?
yeah.
And one of the things that I think most guitar players learn is, how to play a song and how to sing it before somebody's sitting around and giving you sort of the theory and everything sort of behind the scenes. And I think
Hmm.
that probably the difficulty with me with violin and saxophone was it was instantly sight reading, it was instantly theory, and it just didn't resonate with me. Whereas, I could go to a music class and, this music teacher, hippie lady with her big jumbo Gill guitar, would sit around and strum these songs, and we'd all sing them and have a hook. And, I mean, I remember, how many times we probably sang Scarborough Fair, and I thought, God, man, to this day, what a great song that is. You know what I mean? So I think it was more participatory, right? And it leaned on the things about a song that I need, which is a melody and a hook and all these type of things, because I'm orally that's how I hear it, right? I hear it instead of seeing it, and so that's sort of how I'm wired, and that's how that worked out.
Well, now, once you started playing guitar, was the goal? I mean, obviously, eventually, like you said, you become songwriter, and it's sort of this vessel to write songs. But did you ever fall into I'm gonna be the most technical guitarist? I'm gonna be Steve Vai.
Yeah, you couldn't be playing guitar at that time if you weren't, right? I mean, because that was sort of very like, yeah, sure, Steve Vai and Eddie Van Halen, Alan Holdsworth, and Michael Schenker and Eric Clapton and all these guys, right? And yeah, I tried to be those guys and I couldn't, right? It wasn't there's a there's a thing, right? Great guitar players, and I was listening to an interview with who's a guitar player from Metallica?
Not Hetfield, Kirk Hammett.
Yeah, so Kirk Hammett was talking about a groove that Hetfield came up with, and he said, Hammett said, all of my dexterity is in my left hand. And he said the thing about Kirk is it's all in his right hand. So he comes out with these rhythms, and he's like, every time he comes up with something, I don't even know if I could play this, right? Because he doesn't have that right hand technique. He's got the left hand technique. But those are small muscle techniques, right? And I don't really have that. Right. And so what I realized pretty early on was I was never going to be those guys, but the thing I did have was my ability to write a song, and that's sort of what I leaned on.
Now, were you playing in bands throughout high school?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Were you covering those kind of guys in high school?
Yeah, we covered everything that was top 40 at the time, or in the Billboard Top 100 or whatever. Yeah, we were playing all that type of stuff. Which now, I mean, the idea that I would be something of a retro jukebox would just make me want to dive off of a cliff. But there are things you learn in that experience that are really, really important.
Oh yeah. Well, now obviously, I mean, that's the thing that the new album. It's not. Your goal is not hitting crazy solos, but yeah, I mean you got some pretty nice solos, like on Preachers of Doom, solid solo. Now, is that you or is that another musician that's doing that solo?
Preachers of Doom, that guitar solo is a guy named John DePatty, with whom I grew up actually, and yeah, I mean, so for me because I spent so much time playing guitar and being around phenomenal guitar players, I'm always interested in great guitar players who can add motif, right?
Yeah.
I'm not particularly interested in guitar solos that are gratuitous, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people out there that can, shred a million miles an hour, but there's no musicality to that. So yeah, I'm very interested in guitar players who have great technique, who have a massive tool bag that they can pull from stylistically, and who can add value to the song. And if that comes with impressive guitar playing, that more the better.
Yeah. Well, now, I mean, going through the career, you moved to California as soon as you graduate. Actually, didn't even wait for the graduation.
That's right.
How long had you been planning that? Was that like a middle school thing? You were like, I'm getting out of here.
I think I knew, yeah, I think I probably knew in eighth grade. I
Man.
was like, and I used to wake up in the morning staring at the ceiling going, oh, it's not over yet. But, it was almost like I had an invisible calendar that I was marking off the days to get out of there.
When you got to California, was it, everything you thought it would be?
Oh yeah, man, it was great, because I grew up in a pretty, conservative New England area, which,
Mm-hmm.
was fine, but I was looking for the girls and the beach and all this type of stuff. Yeah, and I mean, it was perpetually warm, everybody's beautiful, and yeah, I mean, what's not to like, right? And the thing is that, I was in my childhood, I was kind of an introvert.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly was sort of not mainstream,
Mm-hmm.
and felt to some extent that there weren't a lot of people like me. And when I got to LA and I was meeting people, I was like, well, wow, there's a ton of people like me. And so there was an instant belonging
Mm.
that I found that I had a hard time finding growing up.
Yeah. That's actually, I mean, that's surprising because like sometimes you hear people going out to LA and it's like they feel so lonely. I guess it's the fact you found the right people. You found your people. Well,
Yeah.
well, like I mentioned, I mean the new album is very California. It was recorded at 4th Street Recording in Santa Monica. In your opinion, is there a song on the album that is the most Californian, that has sort of the most California vibes?
I don't think so. I think they all have a piece of that.
Mm,
San Fernando has certainly that sort of Hispanic Chicano influence on it, right? Which is very LA, sort of
yeah,
very
yeah.
sort of Northeast Valley thing. Um, Love is a Beautiful Thing. The sort of I think of that as having sort of the big, almost wrecking crew
Mm,
arrangement, right, with the strings and the pedal steel guitars and all that. So I think what we tried to do and what we did do was sort of reach sort of all portions of that California sound. And
yeah.
there's a little bit of sort of Orange County punk rock influence in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they all get a piece of it. And certainly, there I think some of the storyline motifs are very California.
For sure, for sure. Well, now the album itself, I mean, it's generally when you see like it's labeled a lot of times by like magazines and whatnot, Americana. And
Hmm.
like you were just saying, it's got rock. There's some country. There's a little bit of punk going on. Little bit of folk even in there. For when you first went out to California, in your 20s, uh, was it all across genres that you were trying to make it happen when you first went out there, or was it one sort of genre that you were trying to make music in?
I think I was trying to get it to happen any way I could, but it was definitely a time of Sunset Strip and long hair and black leather jackets, so that was a sort of thing that was happening. I mean, Guns N' Roses was the
Mm.
biggest thing going, so I think we were all sort of immersed in that, but I do remember thinking. I do remember thinking, well, I'll play anything, but I'm not going to play like, Nashville style pop country. And then I met a couple of people who did it really well, and I was like eating my hat, going, I got to learn that. So what I did learn was all my preconceptions about what I thought was good and what I thought was bad, and things I would do and things I wouldn't do instantly evaporated because I learned how to see and really hear the connections and sort of the beauty in almost all musical styles.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it sort of goes back to what we first started talking about with the Bay City Rollers. I mean, a good song's a good song.
Yeah.
And like when you hear, I mean, like that's the thing is when you hear Guns N' Roses Appetite for Destruction, like it doesn't matter if you're in hard rock or not. Every one of those songs is so well written. Like, I mean, Paradise City and Sweet Child of Mine, and like, I mean, it's just there's a reason why it sold 17 million copies or whatever it sold. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, and that's what I'm always searching for, right? Give me records that have great songs. I mean, I've been on a massive Kesha bender for the last probably 3 months, right? And the songwriting on there is just fantastic.
Oh yeah. Well, now, after a good stint of you trying to make it in music, you made a hard turn there for a good while. You sold all your gear. You go into computer science. Was there a specific point that, like, was there this moment that it was just like, done, this is causing me to quit music? Or was it just one of those things that you slowly were like, I got to get out of this?
Yeah, I think it was the latter. I really did just sort of start to burn out on it. And I didn't want to, I had a lot of friends that had been in for a long time and they were bitter. And I didn't want to be bitter. But I also, I had a kid on the way too. And I think, the reaction that a lot of people have, if you're a guy with a kid on the way, is I better go get my spear and go put a steak on the plate,
Financially stable. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I just decided I'd have my time with it. And yeah, I just decided to make a hard pivot, and not just professionally, but in terms of how I identified, right? Because one thing about any kind of artist is you identify with the craft, right? You are the thing you make. Very craft culture. And I said, yeah, I just got to pivot away from this, and I got to pivot my identity away, or I'll just never be able to survive. I'll be living in a limbo. So yeah, I sold all my closets full of amps and guitars and recording gear, just off it went. And I kept a flat top Collings dreadnought that I had. And I would sing songs to my kids. I'd sing them to sleep, wake them up in the morning with a song, but I never thought anything of it. And I never thought I was ever going to go back to it. I thought, man, this is a really great time. I had great memories, great friends, all this type of stuff. But I thought, I'm just leaving it alone. I'm moving on to the next thing. And then probably, 12, 13 years later, something like that, a friend of mine old friend got a hold of me and said, oh, you got to come down to this jam session. It was out in the San Fernando Valley somewhere. I was like, off, and he hung up the phone. And he called a few more times. I'm look, like, I don't even own anything. Like, I got a flat top guitar and doesn't even have a pickup in it. He says, oh, just come on down, So I went down after a bad day at work, and he bought me a couple of scotches, and I sat in on a song. And I thought, man, if I were like a heroin addict, this must be like what it's like to relapse, And yeah, it just started from there, and I started going to the occasional jam session, and then I got a pickup in my guitar, and then I bought another electric guitar, started buying gear, and then, I'm in a cover band, and then all of a sudden I'm writing songs, and that's where I knew it was bad. I was like, I'm writing songs again. This is not very good. And so here we are, 3 albums deep now.
So it took until the songwriting. It wasn't the first night that you were like, oh no, I'm back on the narcotic.
No. Once the songwriting came out, I was like, oh, this is bad. This is where it all goes wrong. And of course, it's gone wrong 3 times now.
Well, now, I mean, to a degree, I feel like it's a little bit akin to the song on your album there, Rock and Roll Cocaine. I mean, that's more about the listeners of rock and roll. But like, when you were writing that song, was there any idea in your head as far as like adding a verse about yourself getting high on your own supply there?
No, I was really trying to get there are so many of those great country songs that have somebody robbing a bank, might be Ray Wiley Hubbard or something, and I was really trying to get to that type of sort of outlaw story, but to paint it in a sort of TikTok era, sort of LA rhinestone backdrop.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's like you said, it's got that fast-paced feel You can feel it as far as, I mean, once you actually mentioned that, I didn't really think of it, of course, but like once you mention that, you can feel it in the song as far as like the getaway car, essentially.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Now the last albums, as far as your relapses here, and they are produced by Derek O'Brien.
Yeah, that's right.
Who I heard you were in a band with back before.
Yeah.
Now, was that punk style that you were in a band with him with?
That was we were clad in vinyl with a heroin chic singer. So it was late 90s pop.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it was probably the furthest thing from punk rock that you could get.
Very interesting. Huh.
Yeah, yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
What
The vinyl clothing was all the rage then. We were all dressed in vinyl.
what makes Derek, once you actually did start, and like, I mean, I hear he was one of the guys that sort of convinced you back into actually recording albums. What makes him a good producer?
There's for me, I think it's our ability to work together and to sort of exchange ideas. But I think ultimately, and probably I think he would agree, it's taken some work. He's really good at pushing me out of my comfort zone, uh, and bring me to a place where he'll suggest something. I don't know about that. Like I'm not hearing that at all. And album after album, he's managed to sort of get me to embrace the edge of where my comfort is, to really expand my comfort zone. And I think that that's really what's one of the most important things he brings to the table, is just getting me to loosen up and do something I wouldn't normally consider.
Nice. Well, now it's a little bit out of the music range, but I got to ask because I found it quite interesting. I heard, I think it was around the time you did your last album, when you were getting ready for an Iron Man. Did you run any more Iron Mans while creating this new album?
Yeah, I was scheduled to do a half Ironman in Oceanside, California, sort of in the middle of this, and I tore my Achilles and I had to cancel a week ahead of time. So I've just gotten back to running, and we'll see if I can make a half or two this year. But it all depends on whether my Achilles will hold up to the damage.
My Lord, Achilles tear. I'm guessing it felt like everybody always says it feels like somebody just hit you real hard in the back of the leg and you heard a huge pop when it happened.
It wasn't like a full rupture like Aaron Rodgers where I needed to get it sewed up. So I was lucky, but yeah, look, I was just out running and then all of a sudden a massive pain. And I thought, oh, this isn't good. And I let it sit for a couple of days and then went out for a run a couple of days later. And it just, the pain was immense. And I had to pull the plug on it. I certainly wasn't willing to risk racing injured. That's for sure.
Well, I was getting ready to ask. I might put running at the top now, but I was going to ask what's the toughest part of a triathlon for you, swimming, biking, or running?
Running. And thing about triathletes is that's a runner's game, right? Normally triathletes are, kind of swimmers, average cyclists, good runners. I'm a really good swimmer, an average cyclist, kind of runners. So yeah, it's the inverse of what it should be.
Ooh, start out strong, slowly fade back.
Yeah, it's just going downhill the entire time.
Well, do you train with music when you do train?
I do. If I'm on my bike trainer indoors, I will, and if I'm on the treadmill, I will. Out on the road, I won't. And that's just to, you got to have all your faculties about you, especially in a city like LA, right? If you can't hear everything, if you can't see anything, then you could wind up in an accident. But indoors, absolutely.
And all genres when you're
all genres.
Love it. Well, Back to the album. One of the most important things, like we talked about, storytelling. And I hear this album was sort of roughly inspired by Nomadland, and sort of the idea that there can be beauty in difficult situations.
Yeah. Certainly, Econoline was, and I would say that Rose Avenue and Main Street certainly has, you know, represents sort of the impact that being around a lot of homelessness has had on me living in LA. And yeah, I mean, Nomadland had a profound impact on me, because watching it and you know and seeing a lot of people experiencing homelessness around where I live, you realize that those are communities, right? And they're communities of that they're harsh living conditions and a lot of difficulty, but in the cracks in the chinks of those places, love blooms, right? And there is they don't have a lot of food, they don't have any sanitary conditions, they don't have a place to live, but they have relationships and they have strong bonds, and yeah, so that was a big influence for me.
Nice. Well, now, before this is switching gears a little bit as far as the album, you had been releasing everything on TuneCore, which, for the listeners that don't know, it's a company that distributes all your music on the streaming services simultaneously. But they had content objections and wouldn't distribute your music. You never found out what they objected to, which would drive me crazy. Does that drive you crazy?
Yeah, when I got the email from TuneCore and I responded back, I said, well, first thing I think they pushed back on was Dirty Girl. I said, okay, you want me to mark that as
Explicit.
Explicit, the parental advisory, whatever. I said I could do that. They said, no, we're just refusing to release all this stuff. I was like, really? And I said, what's the reason? They said, well, we're not allowed to tell you the reason. And I got this email from somebody named Naomi at TuneCore. And my initial reaction was, okay, this is, and TuneCore is based in Brooklyn, so I'm going to take a little jab at Brooklyn. But my knee-jerk reaction was, okay, this is, somebody who's an underpaid commissar at TuneCore who doesn't like the album cover or the material or something like this, and probably has a bachelor's degree from Smith and a master's degree from Sarah Lawrence or something like that. But after I chewed on it and I looked at the responses and emailed back, what I realized is it was probably an LLM, an AI bot responding to me, that was designed to sound that way. But yeah, I mean, they absolutely refused, and I found a guy with Derek's help, actually, who's a distributor out of Nashville, and he'd worked at I think Sony Music for years as a distributor, and so he's an independent distributor, and he was all on board. So really, he saved my bacon at the last moment. And it's been a great relationship so far. I don't have the same dashboard access that I'd have with one of those digital aggregators, but at the same time, he's got reps at Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, all these places that he can pick up the phone and talk to. And trust me, if you try to get on the phone with TuneCore, you won't get there. Right? And same thing with CD Baby and United Masters. You just can't get anybody on the phone, and you won't get anybody on the phone at Spotify either. And one of the things with TuneCore, actually, and really was the last straw, they claimed that I had a playlist on Spotify that was generated by bots, and they were pulling all my stuff out of the stores, and there was no evidence of that. And I looked at all my playlists on Spotify and I ran them through the bot checker. So they obviously found something that they didn't like about me, and they were going to do whatever they could do to step on my neck. And I was like, fine, you want to play that game? That's okay. I'll move off somewhere else.
That's really weird. It's I mean, like, out of all the things, I mean, first of all, an artist make what an artist wants to make. Out of all the things that are out there, first of all, your music, I mean, it's not like there's a super controversial just thing that you're like, oh my Lord, that's going to be hard pill for people to swallow. Like, I find it so bizarre.
It's pretty rated G, but I'm pretty sure if it had a thoroughly offensive title, that would have been okay for them.
Exactly. Maybe that was it. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it didn't have enough in there. Well, I mean, that, talking about the TuneCore, it sort of reminded me too of like how, I mean, from sort of your first stint in music until your second stint in music, I mean, it's sort of it's distributed in a completely different world now. And like, is that like, were you sort of blown, like when you came back and you did make that first album, were you like, man, this is weird, like this is way different than I remember?
I was certainly, because of my background, computer science, digitization was something I was totally familiar with, but having to learn all the ins and outs of distribution and publishing and aggregation and all of that, it took time. And, even though those services are digitized, right, understanding the nuance of those things is still the way it was back in the 1920s, right? How royalties are apportioned, all this type of stuff, how you get playlisted, and it's not in very clear, succinct English. So on the first record, there was a learning curve for sure.
Yeah. Well, now I don't want to keep you too long, so I've got one more question on the new album. If you only had time to play one song for a person that was interested, like a person comes up to you, they say, man, I'd like to hear some of your music, but I only got time for one song, what would you play for them? Doesn't necessarily mean your favorite song, but just right now, which one would you go to? Maybe that encapsulates the album the best.
Play Econoline and turn it up on 11.
Nice. I like it. Well, Andrew, I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thanks so much for having me, Ben. Really appreciate it.
For sure. Listeners, make sure you check out Love is a Beautiful Thing, out on all streaming services. No thanks to TuneCore. Make sure you check it out right now. We're going to hear Econoline right here on the Doc G Show. And we are back here on the Doc G Show. You just heard Andrew Browning. Mike, do you remember your first interaction with music?
Ooh.
First, like, song you heard, first instrument you played, anything like that?
Man, I want to say the first thing that comes to mind is Montell Jordan, This Is How We Do It.
Yes! That's a way to get into music right there.
Yeah, I think that's my first recollection of, like,
it's Friday night,
liking
and the
song.
Feeling is right, and the party's here on the west side. Good stuff. I like it.
Yeah.
And that guy was freakishly tall. Well, he still is freakishly tall. I'm pretty positive he's still alive. I'd have no reason why he's still. Mike, odds on, is Montell Williams still alive, or Montell
I'm gonna
Jordan
go with
still alive?
It's not like he was He was pretty popular, but it's not like he was like life-destroying popular.
He's still alive. Yes.
Cool.
And let's see. Is his birthday coming up? They don't have his birthday up. He's not.
How tall is he?
6'8", Mike.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, we just missed his birthday, Mike. Yesterday, December 3rd. My goodness. There you go. Happy birthday, Montell.
Happy birthday.
I am very happy you are not dead, and I am happy that you just turned 56 years old.
That's right.
Congratulations, Montell. And also congratulations on being freakishly tall. Thank you for that.
It's great.
One hit, man. I mean, that's all you need. But this is how we do it. That
was a good song, man.
That was
good
jam. It's a feel good song. You know what that goes with for me? What other song that goes with for me? Return of the Mac.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Such a good song.
You know those two?
That's an unskippable song.
Yeah.
I mean, when that song comes on, it's just not getting skipped. Yeah, that song takes you back. What's your first experience with music, Doc G? What's your first recollection of hearing some...
Honestly, that's the thing with Andrew. He had this amazing, he remembers it vividly of, going to the 8-track and, putting in the 8-track and I don't have something like that. Maybe it's because I'm not a musician. It did not strike me that much, But I do remember, very clearly, my favorite first song. I remember two things. One, I remember taking my mom's Walkman, and I was probably I don't know, 4 or 5 years old, something like that. And I wore out the Billy Joel, We Didn't Start the Fire.
Sweet.
I just went back and forth over that thing 400 times, man. I just walked around the house. I walked around the neighborhood. I just kept on. We didn't start the fire. It was always burning when the world was turning, baby. We didn't start the... I couldn't say any of the words. I didn't know what anything meant in that song.
That vibe.
I just loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it, man.
Oh, that's a good song when you're 4.
Yeah, it was great.
And then the energy.
Then you grow up and you're like, oh, there's some serious in this song. This is everything that happened in the last 70 years. Oh, man, But, and then the other one, I remember it coming on. I guess, sorry, I'm getting 2 more. One, then also Annie Lennox, Walking on Broken Glass. I remember that one coming on the radio all the time and just loving that jam, man. Walking on Broken Glass. And it feels just like I'm walking on broken glass. Walking on broken glass. Good song, man. So the lead singer of the Eurythmics, same one that does the old Sweet Dreams. Sweet dreams are made of thee. She sings that song, but Annie Lennox doing Walking on Broken Glass is just her by herself instead of the Eurythmics. But then the last one, which was my favorite song for a very long time, Under the Bridge, Red Hot Chili Peppers. That one, loved that song. When I was 5 years old. Maybe 6. But didn't understand that one either. Of course, did not understand that it was Anthony Kiedis trying to kick heroin. I was just like, this is a beautiful song, and just loved it. And
That's, man, I wish I don't know that song. I don't know it.
Oh, you know it.
Yeah, I'd probably know it if I heard it.
You know both of those songs. Under the Bridge and Walking on Broken Glass. You know both of them 100%. I don't doubt it. But Mike, thank you to Andrew for coming on the show. If you get a chance, check his album out. Mike, it's time to move on. Fastest growing segment in the world.
Mike C, top 3.
Correct. Mike, you chose a frightening topic.
Yes.
Top 3 volcanoes. Mike, I, not to spoil my list, I went with all non-Earth volcanoes.
Oh, okay. I like that.
Because no thank you, I don't need to know about volcanoes on
I went
Earth.
all Earth volcanoes.
You disgust me, Mike.
Yeah.
Anyways, do you have any honorable mentions?
Oh, yeah, I got a couple.
Okay. Hit me with the honorable mentions.
The Yellowstone caldera. That might be the world ender if that one goes off.
Yeah,
That one-
horrible.
that's a big one. That's a big
Yeah.
one.
Horrible.
Mount St. Helens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I've
Also
never been to
frightening.
it, but it looks pretty cool. That's it actually. Just a couple.
Those all frighten me, Mike.
Yeah.
Especially the fact of world ending. That doesn't sound good. It's not good
Yeah.
at all. Mike, my number 3, Doom Mons. Doom Mons on Saturn's moon Titan. It's a cryovolcano, Mike.
That's the one you can see from like the atmosphere, right? It's like spewing out into the atmosphere. Yeah.
It's sort of it's sort of like a geyser, a little bit,
Right, yeah.
Because you know what's coming out of it is actually like water vapors and gas,
yeah.
and then it instantly turns into ice because of how cold it is. Like when it shoots out into the space. Pretty wild.
yeah.
Pretty wild.
They want to send probes to that thing and then try to measure or try to see what's in it.
Plus,
I
plus
think.
it's called Doom Mons. That's pretty.
Doom.
Yeah, that's pretty. Pretty
Yeah.
good. Pretty good. Mike, you're number 3.
My number 3, the Kranitsina volcano. I think I'm saying that right, or it might be the Kranitsin volcano in Russia. It's pretty cool. It's like a volcano within a volcano. It is pretty wild.
Okay.
It's like a volcano.
I see it. I see
a
it.
crater.
You're in a lake.
Yeah.
You're in a lake there, and then the peak is in the middle of it.
Is in the middle of it. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Pretty cool looking volcano. That's actually what inspired me for this top 3.
But it didn't. It did not reach your number 1.
Didn't reach number 1.
Huh.
No.
That's so it inspired it, but then after you saw some others, you were like, nope, sorry. You
Yeah,
didn't
well,
win out.
I've always had my background top 3 volcanoes, you
Oh,
know?
okay.
But it's like
Okay.
when you start thinking about volcanoes, you're like, oh, wow, that's a cool volcano. We should do top 3 volcanoes.
I can definitely say if I were paddling in that lake around that volcano, I would be pants the entire time.
Oh, yeah.
Just I'm sure is that thing dormant? Do we know? Like is it doesn't look like it's erupting anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't know.
You just don't know, man. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Anyways, it is a very cool and impressive
beautiful.
looking volcano, Mike.
Listeners, Google that one. It's a good screensaver.
My next one would be Pilon Patera.
Ooh.
Pilon Patera on Jupiter's moon Io. This volcano, Mike, erupted in 1997. We saw it from our satellite imagery. It erupted in 1997, the biggest eruption ever witnessed. The eruption went over 140 kilometers in the sky, and the average temperature of the eruption was almost 3,000 degrees.
Ooh, that's hot.
That is hot, Mike. I don't want that to happen on Earth. No, thank you. You keep that on moon low.
Yeah.
That's where that needs to stay.
Yeah, we don't need that.
Thank you very much, Pilon Patera. But look very crazy, and you could see it, of course, from Earth. Like, I mean, like, you know, you had to have a telescope, obviously. But when you looked at the moon and you could see the massive spot on the moon where that volcano was exploding. Pretty wild.
Yeah.
Pretty wild. Mike, you're number 2.
Mount Fuji. Mount Fuji. It's just such a beautiful volcano. It's always in screensavers just because of how photogenic.
It's got its nice little white peak,
Little snow cap.
Yeah, and it's got, you know, it's by itself there. It just sort of rises up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's got, you know, just nice landscape around it. Yeah.
It's just so beautiful. Such a nice looking, also dormant volcano, I think.
I was about to say, when was the last time Mount Fuji erupted? I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna see here. Let's see. Most recent eruption, 1707. Jeez. Okay, 1707.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you know, it is still an active volcano. That's
Oh,
what
it's still active. Okay.
That's what National Geographic says. Yes. Okay. Unless I'm reading that wrong, I could be. I don't
Okay,
know.
so we'll just enjoy Mount Fuji from
a
thousands
distance.
of miles away.
From a distance. From a distance. Yes, that was 1707 was the last severe eruption. Anywho, and wow, yeah, they've got a little map of the volcanic ash falling during the eruption. Pass. No, thank you. Mike, my number 1. Mars Olympus Mons.
Yeah.
374 miles across.
Yeah. That's hot.
The size of the volcano, Mike.
Yeah, it's massive.
It's the size of Arizona. Jeez. A volcano. It's been dormant for the last 2 million years, Mike. Now, just think how wild that would be if all of a sudden we were just sitting here one day and one of the telescopes, they were like, oh my God, it's exploding again.
Well, I bet it would be the most uneventful, like, eruption. It's just so big. It's just such a big volcano.
I feel like if it exploded, like half the Mars would just rip off. Like,
yeah, right.
Just wild, man.
It would be that, or it'd be like this little tiny little putter of a volcano.
Just right out of the top. Just.
I tried Google. I tried not Google. I tried ChatGPT. They have the image thing. I was like, what would it look like from the ground to look at Olympus Mons? Like, what would it look like if you were, 100 miles away or whatever? And the images were terrible, but
it's wild, man. Like, you think about, like, I mean, Mars is smaller than Earth, and this thing is 374 miles across. Mm-hmm. Like, that's it. I mean, you think about it, like, relative to the size of Mars, that's like the size, like a volcano being the size of Asia or something.
Yeah.
Like, it's just nuts.
Yeah, it's the tallest. I think it's the tallest mountain or tallest like thing in the solar system, right?
I'm not sure on that.
I think it's the tallest mountain or like, yeah.
I mean, it is. I just looked it up. 72,000 feet tall. 72,000 feet tall.
Yeah, and I think Everest is like 20 something. Or something.
Yeah. It dwarfs Mount Everest. That's crazy. It's almost 3 times the height of Mount Everest. That is one huge volcano.
Love it.
Mike, number 1 for you.
Number 1, Mount Vesuvius, Pompeii, Italy.
Vesuvius.
So cool. Went there. That's why it's my number 1, because it's the only volcano I've actually been to.
You didn't go to any volcanoes when you were in Hawaii?
I mean, I guess technically I was probably around some volcanoes, but we didn't go visit. No, we didn't go check any. We were
surprising.
at the last island.
That's one of those things, you know. That's like a person's go-to a lot of times.
Yeah, I know. Next time I go to Hawaii, gonna go to a volcano for sure.
That's a very big go-to.
Lava. But yeah, Vesuvius.
Pompeii, man. Pompeii.
Wild, going around the ruins and seeing all the people that were like, just
completely frozen in ash.
time. Imagine if that thing went off while I was there, and then we were like that with our phone, like selfie, like we would all be on our phones. We'd all be little statues on our phones.
Man, no thank you, Mike. That's why I don't like to be around volcanoes. Pass.
Yeah, no, it's exhilarating.
Pass. Oh, pass. Don't need that exhilaration in my life. Mike, what is our topic for next week?
All right, we're going to go back to food, and we have not done this. I looked back into the archives of top threes. Fast food breakfast items.
You're like, we are going to address everything in fast food that you can do.
We're covering it all.
Do we have any other options before we hit breakfast items? Do you have
no, Doc G, we do not.
Girl, come on. This is the one thing I thought of, okay? We're doing breakfast items.
I'm working on some future ideas. I'm working on it.
Okay, Mike, I'm going to be honest. I'm not a huge fan of breakfast items. I know
it's going to be tough for you, Doc G. It's going to be tough. You're going to have to think back.
I don't do a lot of breakfast at fast food places. No offense to fast food places, but listeners, on this one, I'm probably just gonna have to guess on some of these. This is gonna have to be a review of the things out there. Mike, we need to move on to some birthday suits here. I think you can get both of these.
Cool.
Do you want the musician or the actor first?
Let's go with the actor.
Okay, born on December 4th, 1949 in Los Angeles, our birthday suit wearer was born into an acting family. His dad performed in many famous shows and movies throughout the 50s and 60s. Our birthday suit wearer's first film was Halls of Anger in 1970. Then The Last Picture Show in 1971. In 1998, he played one of his most iconic roles. He starred in The Big Lebowski as Jeffrey the Dude Lebowski. Since then, he has been known by many people as simply the Dude. But he's played in several other massive movies such as Seabiscuit, Iron Man, Crazy Heart, True Grit, Tron, The Next Day, and many more. Over his career, he has starred in over 65 movies. Name that birthday suit wearer.
This is so embarrassing, but I will definitely get it with initials. I mean, I'm just blanking.
JB.
Dude, I cannot believe.
Maybe I should give you some more movies. Let's see.
No, man, I know exactly who it is.
Okay.
I am just blanking on the name. I'm going to pass. I don't want to waste.
Mike, if you go to an island, you got to drive over on
Jeff Bridges.
There we go.
Bridges.
There we go.
I appreciate you. Thank you, Jeff Bridges.
Is that what game is that where you got to give clues but you can't say anything? I forget which one that is. It's obviously not Pictionary. That's the one you got to draw. I can't remember. Anyways, I did a little bit of that on there. Nicely done. Nicely done.
Thank
Jeff
you, Dr.
Bridges. There we go. Yes, fantastic. And, after, I forget, he was doing a whole press tour there. He did the whole round of, like, big talk shows and all the famous podcasts. And I got to say, after listening and watching a bunch of those, he is the dude. Like, he didn't really act that much in that movie. That's just him. Like, that's Jeff Bridges playing Jeff Bridges. Like, when you listen to those podcasts and watch those shows, you're just like, that's this dude. That's him. And I got to say, it's pretty awesome. Yes! It's a pretty awesome person to be. So, shout out to Jeff Bridges. Seems like a really nice. Oh, it's an awesome movie.
And Tron. Tron was also good. Slept on movie. I don't know if it was slept on, but I thought it was a great movie.
True
Tron.
Grit. Great movie. If you
True
haven't
Grit.
watched True Grit, that's an awesome one, man. That is definitely a good one. My brother really likes that one. It's a good one. A good Western movie there. Mike, this last one, we'll see. But I think it's definitely possible. Born on December 4th in 1984 with the birth name Jason Bradley DeFord, I'm guessing. DeFord. DeFord, I think. Not Dayford. DeFord. You think it's DeFord? No, I think it's DeFord. I'm
I
going
don't know.
DeFord.
No idea.
Anyways, Jason Bradley DeFord in Antioch, Tennessee. Our birthday suit wear started in music by doing hip-hop. He released several mixtapes between 2004 and 2011. After his 2013 mixtape, he started focusing more on rock and country music. Our birthday suit wearer made his Grand Ole Opry debut on November 9th, 2021. Our birthday suit wearer's first rock number one was in 2022 with Dead Man Walking. Then in 2023, he got his first country number one single with Son of a Sinner. His most recent album is Beautifully Broken, which was released October 11th, 2024. He was the first musical guest on the 50th season of Saturday Night Live. Our birthday suit wearer has struggled with his weight his entire life, but over the last year, he has lost, over the last year and a half, he has lost roughly 110 pounds. Name that birthday suit wearer.
This one.
Think a dessert dish. That would be his stage name, Mike. He's got face tattoos.
I know exactly what he looks like. I've watched his. I've seen bits and pieces of his Howard Stern interview. Man. I don't know. I'm gonna pass. I don't know.
I'll give you the initials for his stage name because it's a 2-part stage name. J.R.
Jelly Roll.
There you go.
Yeah,
there it
Jelly Roll.
is.
Thank you. I didn't know that was a dessert. Jelly Roll.
Well, it's not really, but some type of dessert, I guess.
It's probably a dessert.
I don't think a lot of people are actually going to order. I guess, wouldn't that be like sort of like a
jelly roll, please?
like a jelly donut, like sort of like a jelly roll.
Oh yeah, okay, I can see that.
I don't know. I don't know if that actually exists anywhere. I'm gonna Google, does jelly roll dessert actually exist? Yes, jelly roll is a real dessert. Yes, a jelly roll is a thin sponge cake that spread with jam or jelly and rolled up.
Oh.
Can also be filled with whipped cream or icing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was a dessert, Mike. Yes.
I Googled it and I got Swiss roll, but then I see the jelly roll cake.
That's it. Swiss roll,
great.
same deal.
Oh, that looks delicious.
You remember those back in the day, the chocolate Swiss rolls, Mike?
Oh my gosh, we would kill those.
Get?
We had those in stock.
Little Debbie cakes.
Yeah, those little. Oh my gosh, so good.
Those were the best, man. And then they got the icing on the outside.
Yeah. Muy bien.
Chocolate roll. That's even better. I guess his name is not Chocolate Roll for a reason, but still. Anyways, happy birthday to Jelly Roll. Happy birthday to Jay-Z. Happy birthday to Jeff Bridges. Just a bunch of J's out there today, Mike. Just a bunch of J's.
Yeah.
Mike, we've got some fantastic shows coming up. Can't wait. Gonna be good, but we need to wrap it up for this week. I have been your host, Doc G. With me, as always, the one, the only, Mikey Maximus, the Vernicus. Charette.
Always a pleasure, Doc G. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And until next week, zip it up and zip it out.
Zippity-doo-dah.